Designing a Trust-Constrained Labor Market, How TJAP Makes Manipulation Irrational, Engineering Market Integrity into Hiring Systems. Hi, my name is Sarah Trumbull. I'm the founder and CEO of the Job Applicant Perspective, the first anonymous user reviews for job ads across the U.S. It's a level of go-to-market awareness as well as, public service, I say sometimes. Doesn't matter. I'm running a paradigm shift, and that requires to try to meet people where they're in a variety of ways. This comes from a written post on my Substack, but I do this in video and audio format just because. I'm going to start from the beginning. Across the last several pieces, we've outlined how the job applicant perspective measures trust in hiring and how that trust data can be presented in multiple forms. This piece focuses on the most fragile question, how that data layer is protected from manipulation. To understand why this matters, we need to name the core structural failure of online hiring platforms. They optimize customer acquisition cost, their ability to attract paying employers while remaining unaccountable to job seekers. The platform can generate revenue without ensuring that users find work. I think of it quite equivalently to Disney not being required to please the children in order to sell tickets to the parents. They literally have no requirement because they have no user acquisition costs or customer acquisition. They have to only please the parents, period. The users are captive workforce. In a market they cannot opt out of. It's actually super uncool. But once revenue is decoupled from outcomes, not cool for the customers either, the platform has no structural incentive to resolve hiring inefficiency. In fact, it has an incentive to keep users unemployed. Again, because they're not required to do anything for users, why would they pay? Why would they get them finding work when they work and they're so much more profitable working for the talent industry for free? Why would they employ them when it's so much more profitable to not? Both of which can be monetized. The result is not a broken system, but a rational one, an engagement trap. This paper addresses how to design a system where that decoupling is no longer possible, where trust is not a branding question, but a constraint enforced at the data layer itself. Who this is for? Job seekers tired of ghost listings, opaque processes, and being blamed for failures they did not create, who want outcomes made visible, not just engagement. I've said it before, I've said it again, job seekers are one half of a two-sided market, but they're well over 95% of the users. When hiring went online, it dropped trust infrastructure for half the market and over 95% of the users. That is such an error in judgment. And this makes the outcomes we see not only not confusing, incredibly predictable in a lot of ways. But again, we are where we are. So what are we going to do to fix it? Employers who want reliable hiring pipelines and recognize that an efficient market requires trustworthy data. It really does. Data drift is no good for employers either. Makes it terrible to invest in things. Not endless volume noise and churn, especially small businesses. Municipal and civic stakeholders, workforce boards, chambers of commerce, city leaders seeking measurable insight into how hiring actually functions locally, not just how many jobs are posted. How do we know that that's not a scammer that's stealing money from our tax base, stealing homes from people, all that stuff? HR tech builders and platform designers interested in trust-first architecture or revenue is constrained by user outcomes and systems resist gaming rather than monetize dysfunction. Why trust is a market constraint, not a moral stance. I'll say this about empathy too. Empathy is an information systems constraint, not a moral stance. Trust is an economic constraint, not a moral stance. It allows wealth. That's what allows the wealth. This lack of trust is the problem. Most online hiring platforms optimize for CAC, the cost of acquiring paying customers, typically employers. This makes sense in a one-sided market. But hiring is not a one-sided market. It is a two-sided market where nearly all of the value is produced by the users, job seekers, while revenue is collected from employers. Really, 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 really. I don't know how to overemphasize this enough. If the market focuses on the paying customers, the market creates an engagement trap. If the market focuses on the end users. The market creates hiring solutions. The problem, public policy-wise, they can't require employers to do anything, but they can require vendors to absolutely focus on the end users, or else they're just profiting from labor market failure. That's what they're doing. Like, it's like Disney not having to build a theme park for the parents, for the kids in order to get the parents. In fact, they made more money the worse off they made the kids, except the magic was actually food, clothing, shelter, and healthcare. It's no good for anybody. But if they focus on the user, if employers' value follows job seeker value, employers purchase market solutions. If employers' value precedes job seeker value, employers purchase labor market failure. That's what happens. That's what it is. So employers need to make a choice. What do they prefer? Where's a better way to sell your goods and services? In a labor market failure scenario or a labor market solution scenario? It's important. When a platform optimizes CAC alone, it structurally decouples revenue from outcomes. The platform can acquire employers, renew contracts, and increase spend without demonstrating that job seekers are actually finding work. The decoupling is not a bug. It is the engagement trap. Profit in the pain requires one stakeholder. Profit in the solution requires two. That's what it is. UAC flips that narrative. UAC, user acquisition and retention costs, is the cost of earning and maintaining job seeker trust. Not attention, not engagement, trust. If job seekers stop believing that participation improves their odds of finding work, the market collapses, no matter how many employers are paying, which is what's happening now. Optimizing for UAC forces a constraint that CAC does not. The platform cannot grow unless job seekers continue to participate, because we're not appealing to the paying customers or appealing to the users. We can't grow unless they're interested in us, unless they're chatting with us. Job seekers will not participate unless outcomes for them, thus the experience and the value they receive, is worth it or improving. Outcomes cannot improve if data is gamed, manipulated, or polluted. This is why protecting trust is not a moral stance. It is a market integrity requirement. You focus on the end user, or you admit that you're just delivering an identity-based engagement trap. Keeping UAC low means, for me as a platform and for investors for the future, engagement is being sustained without coercion of the job seekers who are there, because they don't have to be there. They're just there because they want to be there. It's being sustained without coercion. Data quality improves over time instead of degrading. Churn drops naturally. Fake engagement and spam become expensive instead of profitable. When my goal is to keep their trust, then fake engagement and spam is expensive for me. It costs me money. And crucially, keeping UAC low for me keeps CAC low over time, because employers are buying access to a market that actually functions, not a dashboard that flatters them. 3 layers, 1 constraint. Trust cannot be enforced at a single point. Any system that relies on one gate, one score, or one authority is easy to game. TJAP distributes trust across 3 reinforcing layers, each constraining the other. Layer 1, job seekers, micro layer. The entry point is intentionally simple. Job seekers review individual job postings, not abstract companies. Similar to a Yelp-style interaction, this lowers the barrier to participation and captures experience at the moment it happens, before company memory fades or incentives to store reporting. Again, this is the job ad, not the company. We're not Glassdoor. We're not telling what it's like to work there. We're starting from the job ad, which is where they engage with the funnel of hiring. What is this experience like, and how does it differ when they click on this job ad for this company on LinkedIn versus Indeed versus ZipRecruiter versus Glassdoor versus wherever they click on it from? The goal is that this layer is signal generation, not verdicts. Protection comes from structure. Individual reviews are treated as valuable data, not unquestionable scripture. Yes. Patterns are weighted over one-off ratings. Repeated signals across time roles and applicants matter more than any single submission. Yes, all of those things, yes. It's about the pattern over time, and it's not about a single signal. It's about improving it. This converts individual frustration into collective intelligence without letting any single voice dominate. Layer 2, municipal SaaS oversight, the meso layer. The second layer introduces neutral place-based stewardship. Select municipalities act as independent anchors for local hiring postings and reviews. Statistically, municipal anchors create reference points that make anomalies detectable through cross-city comparison. Municipal leaders, accountable to local voters, provide decentralized oversight that constrains platform incentives, making SaaS, software subscription model, revenue models align with local labor market health. Again, for me, I think there's a reason that newspapers never once allowed software as a subscription job postings, because they cared about good signal, and so do I. Software subscription could come potentially, though, from cities. Cities have an incentive because they have a structure where the city council, the managers, etc., have other constraints, like, getting voted in and not getting yelled at by their neighbor, their uncle's brother, or whatever it is. One or the other, maybe a little of both, not getting harassed on the street. People who work at big companies are insulated from the impact of their action. People who work in the local municipalities are not in the same way. And it creates an anchor, a geocentric anchor, municipal anchor. So SaaS postings for the cities can generate revenue for their city and also set prices in accordance with what works for their businesses in that municipality. And we get SaaS from the city gets SaaS for itself, and we get a data anchor, an insight anchor. Anyway, so comparing city X, which would be SaaS listing city, and city Y, a non-SaaS listing city, we can cross-compare job ad posting volume, review density relative to posting volume, flag odd business practices or review patterns across the SaaS or non-SaaS listings. This layer adds credibility without centralizing control. Again, it's about statistics, getting enough geographic anchor points where, I'm still going to make more money in a pay-per-post scenario than I would in a SaaS listing scenario, but I need some of those SaaS listings because it creates geocentric anchors, polycentric anchors across a certain area. And I got to work the mathematics people. There's more back in there. But regardless, I worked with that guy from Johns Hopkins on that. That sort of thing, you create, you need enough anchors there. You can start comparing cities with similar size for a similar size in a similar geographic area. If they're two SaaS cities, if it's differing wildly, you can notice it. If they're SaaS and non-SaaS, you can notice it. You can start using statistics to find the patterns of behavior. The benefits: micro layer signals gain legitimacy through aggregation. Municipalities receive actionable insights into local labor market health. Cities gain independent revenue streams via SaaS, not data extraction. Yes. And also cities, they still get to have the local newspaper experience where their local coffee shops, their local daycares are all living in one place on theirs, and it boils up to the main area. Instead of having everything at the same level, it makes it so Joe's coffee shop has to compare with everything, when instead it should be visible at this level, but it should be anchored down here. It's friends. Most importantly, municipal anchors create reference points. Let's say cities, the municipalities receive actionable insights into local labor market health, being able to plan for their city boards better. Cities gain independent revenue streams via SaaS, not data extraction, and they could talk about how, they're protecting their residents from, cybercrime this way, because they're helping keep scammers out, identity thefts out, keep people employed. This is how you keep people employed, by fixing the labor market, because the labor market is broken utterly. And most importantly, municipal anchors create for us reference points that make manipulation statistically visible, even in regions that are not SaaS participants. The statistical variation is what we want. The different city sizes and the different geographic areas allow us to cross-compare in a mathematically, statistically relevant way. Gaming becomes harder because bad actors can no longer hide inside the noise. You might be able to get let's say you're really great at manipulation, you get LA to be all manipulated and weird. But then I compare LA to New York to Chicago, and it's really hard for you to get multiple at once without it. The goal isn't to moralize dysfunction, it's to be aware of it so you know what you're looking at and it can help people out around it. Layer 3, reputational infrastructure, macro layer. The final layer operates above individual job ads in cities. Layer 3 takes reputation as a service into helping HR tech companies earn employer purchases by demonstrating the quality of experience they are offering to the workforce on a trustworthy intermediary, TJAP. How the job applicant perspective aggregates cross-validated feedback about hiring infrastructure itself, ATS platforms, recruiters, staffing intermediaries, process vendors, rather than reviewing people. This layer evaluates systems. The output is not star rating, but reputation indices showing how reliably different tools and intermediaries produce respectful, timely, and effective hiring outcomes. This creates structural pressure. Employers can choose HR tech systems based on demonstrated outcomes, not sales claims. Of course, they say they're amazing. Of course, they say job seekers like them. If you ask me, everybody thinks I'm the most beautiful person in the world, too. And everybody wants to date me, and I have $1 million. Or you might want to ask other people a little bit about me as well, because my experience of myself is going to be different than other people experience me. And that's what employers need access to. Vendors are incentivized to improve UX, the user experience, rather than market around its dysfunction. Honestly, when blaming and maligning the labor force is more profitable than evaluating your UX and fixing it, of course they just talk about lazy job seekers and talent shortages. They get to keep their unpaid revenue generators for longer, and they don't have to spend money on the UX. It's about profit with ease. That's it. That's all it is. Bias, inefficiency, and failure modes become visible at the infrastructure level, not blamed on job seekers. Not even saying it's always job seekers. I'm just saying when you only have one person talking and it profits them, it's just a cui bono scenario. Who benefits? Who profits from job seekers being long-term unemployed? It's right there, in the customer acquisition costs and the lack of user acquisition costs, in the fact that an entire $1 trillion year industry, $750 billion year industry runs on the unpaid labor of people whose time it utterly erases. UX drives the subscription revenues, and the UX being not there is wild. It's wildly illogical. So while I've critiqued ATS extensively, and I will continue to, that is an economic atrocity that should never have occurred. Transparency about these systems is harm reduction regardless of whether they persist. I am not the queen of the world, and I don't think anybody should be that person. And the goal isn't to get all the things that I want. It's to make the harm less. So, why gaming becomes irrational. Most platforms try to fight gaming at the surface level: moderation rules, content policies, AI filters. Those approaches fail because they treat manipulation as a behavioral problem instead of an incentive problem. TJAP takes a different approach, makes gaming structurally irrational. Cross-layer verification at the micro layer, job seekers reviews generate raw signal on their own. Any single review can be wrong, biased, or malicious. That is expected. What matters is that no micro layer signal stands alone. Patterns that emerge at the job post level are continuously cross-checked against municipal level aggregates, regional baselines, historical norms. When anomalies appear, sudden spikes in positive or negative feedback, unusual silence, improbable consistency, they are not judged, they're flagged for comparison. Statistical and geographic constraint. Gaming is easy when a system has no reference points. Municipal and regional comparisons create those reference points. A company's behavior can be compared to peers in the same city. A city's patterns can be compared to similar labor markets. A platform's claims can be evaluated against observed outcomes. This makes coordinated manipulation statistically visible, not morally wrong, mathematically improbable. It's just more improbable. And we're comparing here across cities, city X, city Y. This guy looks weird this time. Sometimes it's the SAS city, sometimes it's maybe not SAS city, and sometimes it's neither thing. And sometimes things are just variation is the norm for humans to some degree. So when there's actually no variation, then you got a problem there. But it allows an anchor point, and it also, like, the labor market is the farmer's fields. It's the farmer's fields, like, of the masses. Like, people with the most incentive to keep it clean are the people who can least afford to spend time there. So, like, it's a good idea. The cities have an incentive. Municipalities with tax bases have an incentive to keep it clean. And having them have an incentive means when they notice things, they might say something. It's about keeping everybody's ears towards keeping it clean. More incentives in the right direction. Reputation weighting at the macro layer. The macro layer reinforces legitimacy by weighting signals based on cross-validation over time, not volume or sentiment. Actors that repeatedly align with verifiable outcomes are gain reputational weight. Actors whose signals diverge from observed reality lose it. Crucially, there's no permanent penalty. There's no permanent advantage. Credibility is earned and re-earned through consistency, like trust. You're not entitled to job seekers' time. You don't deserve it. You earn it. You earn it. Like everybody else in every other marketplace. Nobody's entitled to anybody. They can earn respect, trust, and engagement, or they can't. And when they screw up, because everybody screws up, you can earn it back, or you can't. Whatever you need to do. People are allowed to make their choices. There's no permanent penalty, but there's no permanent advantage. Credibility is earned and re-earned. The core protection, the system is designed so that attempts to game it reduce trust rather than increase leverage. Bad data does not amplify, it weakens the signal of the source. Because trust data directly affects UAC, and UAC constrains growth for me. Manipulation becomes self-defeating for me. This is not enforcement, it is incentive alignment. You can check the research. I had a trust and reputation mechanisms in online marketplace from Luca. Another Luca here too. Also, I did some game theorists on this one. There's some German guys, I'm going to butcher their names. Johannes Sanger and Gunther Pernal. How to cope with malicious behavior and feedback mechanisms. Another one from the Germans, Krugel and Peitzel. I apologize for butchering your name. The impact of fraud on reputation systems, games, and economic behavior. And Wangxi Yu and Zhangzhu, again, apologies. Chinese group talking about game theoretic model for the role of reputation feedback systems. I haven't studied game theory quite as much, but I was just surprised how much game theory had already come to similar conclusions. I came at it from systems theory, from first principles. I love first principles, but it's great for me to figure out how that all kind of interconnected together. Oh, there's a couple more here. Frey and Venry. And anyway, I'll put the links there in the article. What TJAP actually is, the job applicant perspective is the applied version of this architecture. It operates a 3-layer trust system. Crowdsourced job level reviews generate lived experience data. Municipal oversight anchors that data in place-based reality. Infrastructure level reputation indices make systems accountable. Together, these 3 layers restore two-sided accountability. Employers gain access to a market with real signal, not noise. Job seekers gain visibility into processes that affect their lives. Intermediaries can no longer hide behind opacity. TJAP does not promise perfect outcomes. It promises verifiable ones. You can use math to verify it. Polycentric nodes, it's a nervous system. It's a nervous system. It's not a central authority, not a tower. It's noticing and awareness. We built a labor market. We built a structure without the nervous system, and we taught it to run fast, not realizing that's how lepers lose legs. That's not how markets succeed. That's not how that works. By tying platform trust, TJAP, does not promise perfect outcomes. It promises verifiable ones by tying platform credibility to user trust and tying growth to UAC. It protects the data layer while increasing market efficiency. Conclusion, this is not a finished solution. It is a foundation. Sustainable hiring will require policy, civic engagement, and continued scrutiny. Yes, if I fail to re-examine what I'm measuring, you should check in on me. This is my theory one of market gravity, is that any system that fails to be able to reflect in on itself on its original market values is already operating from a place of starting to data drift and distortion. You have to be checking back what you're measuring, making sure you're still measuring the right thing. Because, yeah, anyway. Sustainable hiring requires civic policy, engagement, and continued scrutiny, but without trust infrastructure, none of that can work. This is some of the main architecture of how that works at the job applicant perspective. The job applicant perspective lays the groundwork for a labor market where transparency is not performative, accountability is not optional, and efficiency is measured by outcomes, not engagement. Thank you. That's the thing. Passionate about it. The next blog post is going to be on the moderation side, because I kind of add another layer. Always looking at ways to add layers, statistics of how to get everybody aligned in the right way, where they're all working towards the same goal, even though they have each other's blind spots. They're aligned in their goal, but they have different reasons for being aligned to that exact same goal. And you get yourself this web of actors, all with a reason to hold on to the string. And everybody's string they're holding on to makes the whole thing work. It's very exciting. I think it was fun for me. But anyway, the moderation layer is next. And again, the goal is to add another layer of structure and security to. I don't think you can make anything free of the possibility of somebody trying to game it. I think that's the nature of the thing. But you want to make it a little bit permeable to the game so that kind of like you learn what the gamers are doing. Like I actually think that you want to be able to teach the system to learn from the attacks. So it has to be capable of being wounded at least a little bit, but it has to be capable of the wound being visible to other people so they can move around the bad actors and keep themselves safe while the system learns what the harm was so it can protect against it in the future. You're like a nervous system. Like if you're too stiff, you can't move at all. If you're too flappy, you don't protect anybody. You need a level of strength and you need a level of capacity to learn from. Fluidity too. Anyway, resilience. That's the thing. I like a good system. I like a good incentive alignment. Anyway, moderation layer is next. I hope you enjoyed. Please like, follow, share, repost, comment below. And yeah, I'd be interested to hear from more people. I think this is a foundation of the trust infrastructure that will help protect future systems from gaming. And again, it's talking about the data layer. There's obviously more, too, but a basic overview of where we're at. Anyway, thanks. I will see you guys next time. Please be kind to everyone out there. Be kind. We don't have to have tons of money to be kind, It matters. So, thank you.